What is going on, my people? We are finally back again, bro. Hope everyone's doing absolutely fantastic. You've done already, fam. Miguel's favorite is back again, bro. Here to review everything that went down during Championship Sunday in the Premier League. We saw Everton survive relegation on the final day, but that was, of course, at the mercy of Leicester City and Leeds United, who did get relegated. We saw Arsenal put in a fantastic performance against Wolves. What a performance from Granit Xhaka. Manchester City losing 1-0 to Brentford. Liverpool drawing 4-4 to Southampton. It was absolute madness, bro. But if any of that does interest you, please stick around. Please make sure to like, share, subscribe. Tell a friend, tell a friend. Let's get it cracking, bro. So there's really only one place to start, and that is, of course, at Villa Park, where Aston Villa took on Brighton. A great performance from Aston Villa. I went for a 2-1 win for Aston Villa, and it was a 2-1 win for Aston Villa. Douglas Luiz scored a fantastic goal. He's probably one of Aston Villa's best players from this season. Brighton, a little bit underwhelming. I told you, fam, that Aston Villa was going to put in a much better performance because for me, they are a much better side. And they did just that. Ollie Watkins also got himself a really good goal, his last goal of the season. What an underrated striker this guy is. I've given him loads of praise this season. One of my favorite players to watch, this guy, fam. And yeah, a great way to end the season for Aston Villa. They are competing in Europe next season, so yeah, this was a great way to end the season for Aston Villa. We then head over to Goodison Park, where Everton took on Bournemouth. An emphatic victory for Everton. This win secured their place in the Premier League for one more season. It was absolute scenes. The pitch invasion, it was always going to happen, but absolute scenes as well, fam. Decore with an absolute worldie of a goal. What a time and place to get a goal like that, fam. A special moment for Everton and a special moment for Decore. I'm pretty sure it's a goal I'll never forget. But yeah, Everton, for me, I think my only concerns is that if they carry on the way they have been going into next season, I think they will be in another relegation battle. I'm not talking about the team. I think the team and the manager, all that stuff is fine. I think it's more of like maybe like ownership and just people who are higher up. I think if they make some changes over the summer, then, you know, they do have hope going into next season. But if they carry on the same way, I think Everton will just be in the same dilemma next season, the whole relegation battle. By the way, I went for a 1-0 win for Everton, and it was a 1-0 win for Everton. I never doubted the fact that Everton would survive and stay in the Premier League. Moving on, we did, of course, have Leeds United took on Tottenham Hotspur. Leeds United were absolutely awful, and Tottenham, they done really, really well. Harry Kane specifically had a great game. I think he got an assist, and he also scored a brace. 30 goals, I think that took him up to. Some great stuff from Tottenham. Lucas, his final gift for Tottenham. What a goal that was. An amazing run from Lucas Moura. Yeah, sensational goal, fam, on his last time in the Tottenham kit. Leeds United, very unfortunate for them to be relegated, fam. We then, of course, had Brentford, who took on Manchester City. I went for a 3-1 win for Manchester City, I believe. And it was a 1-0 win for Brentford. However, if you guys do remember, I did say that Brentford, I think they can definitely get a win out of this game if they dig deep enough, because they do have quality across their whole 11, and they did just that very late on in the game. I think in the 86th minute, something like that. They got the goal, a 1-0 win for Brentford. Very poor for Manchester City. I know they're not focused too much on the Prem because that's just done and dusted, fam, but I don't know, this can hurt them, fam, for that FA Cup and Champions League final, fam. I think they need to stay on their toes, stay focused, because, you know, stuff like this, it can result in, like, you know, complacency and maybe some bad form, fam. I mean, they have two massive victories in the FA Cup and Champions League. I'm not doubting the fact that they can win the treble. I do think they will win the treble, but they need to stay on their toes. We then head over to Old Trafford, where Man United took on Fulham. I went for a 2-1 win for Man United, and that's exactly what it was, a 2-1 win for Man United. I thought they done really well. Bruno Fernandes played exceptionally well, scored a great goal as well. Sancho also got himself a goal. Fulham, they got a good goal. That Tete goal was actually really good, but they couldn't, you know, build on that. And yeah, I thought Man United done really well. They had a good season, fam. Man United, I think, for me, kind of had an underrated season. They are in the FA Cup final, so they do have a chance of getting another piece of silverware on top of the Carabao Cup. So yeah, Man United, they still have a lot to play for this season. And if they snatch the FA Cup off of Manchester City, not only will they end Manchester City's hopes of winning the treble, I think that'll give them a boost of confidence going into next season. They will be in the Champions League next season, so I think winning another trophy, especially against our arch rivals, would be massive for Man United. After that, we did head over to Stamford Bridge, where Chelsea took on Newcastle. I went for a 2-1 win for Newcastle in this game, and it was a 1-1 draw. Not the most interesting of games. It was a little bit boring, fam. Kieran Trippier, very unfortunate with his own goal. But yeah, I think Chelsea, they actually didn't play too bad. They dominated possession and attack. They were really solid in that, but they weren't really doing anything to, create clear-cut chances. That's where they failed, and that's why they didn't win the game. But apart from that, they actually didn't play too bad. Newcastle, I know their minds are somewhere else, so that's why they didn't really, care too much about this game. But Chelsea, I don't know, fam. It's going to be very difficult to see where their season goes from here. They had an awful season. And yeah, I think looking ahead into next season, for me, I think the only possible thing that I can see from Chelsea is next season will either be the same or worse. It would be a miracle if they automatically just, out of the blue, no pun intended, just get significantly better and like they're challenging for the title. That would be an absolute miracle. I'm not saying that it can happen. It can definitely happen. The Premier League is known for, miracles like that happening. But Chelsea, I don't know. They have a lot to build on over the summer. I know they did buy a lot of players, so that is something to consider. But geez, man, they have a lot of work on. And as for Newcastle, they have loads to look forward to next season as they are in the Champions League. It's going to be very interesting to see what a team like Newcastle does in the Champions League. A lot of them don't have very much experience or any experience in the Champions League. So that's going to be intriguing to see what happens with Newcastle. We then head over to the King Power Stadium where Leicester City took on West Ham. Really good performance from Leicester City. I think they actually done really well in this game. Harvey Barnes turned up, scored a great goal. West Ham were a little flat, weren't really up for it, especially since they are in that Conference League final, which is very understandable, fam. They don't really have too much to focus about or worry about in the Prem. But Leicester City, even though they played well and got their win, they were very dependent on Everton losing their game in order to stay in the Prem, and they fell short, fam. It wasn't good enough, fam. It just wasn't good enough. They were too much too late. Had they won their last game, that would have been something. And they just couldn't win enough games, fam. The defense was, for me, this season was just absolutely shambolic. I knew Leicester City were going to do poor this season, but I would have never imagined them getting relegated, to be honest. We then, of course, did head over to the Emirates Stadium where Arsenal took on Wolves. I went for a 2-1 win for Arsenal, but I said, you know what, there's a possibility they can get like 3 or 4 goals, but they actually won the game 5-0, a clean sheet, a perfect day for the Arsenal, especially since they were debuting their brand new kit. Yeah, a great performance from Arsenal, solid performance. I knew they would do well and was never doubting that. Granit Xhaka scored a brace. He could have even almost, he was very close to getting a hat-trick, but this was possibly not only Granit Xhaka's last appearance in an Arsenal kit, but last goals in an Arsenal shirt, fam. Saka, I also thought, played well. Yeah, Arsenal, they played well across the board. Wolves never had a clue. Arsenal, for me, had a great season. They were one of the best teams in the Prem. Yeah, Man City won it in the end, but Arsenal, honestly, were the only team that was as good as Man City. For me, they were better than Man City because they were above them the whole time. They were above them the whole time, but it was really Arsenal and Man City that were par for par. Every other team was way off them. So Arsenal, I think they got to pat themselves on the back. They had a brilliant season. This was by far their best season in a very long time, and I think people forget that. We then head over to St. Mary's Stadium where Southampton did, of course, take on Liverpool. I went for a 4-1 win for Liverpool, and it was a 4-4 draw. Sulemana with an absolutely sensational performance. 2 great goals from my man. James Ward-Prowse also got himself a good goal. I was very convinced that Liverpool were going to get the 3 points from this game, but they did fall short. However, I did think Diogo Jota, sensational game, scored 2 really, really good goals. One of them was an absolute belter of a goal. One of the best goals from this Sunday. We also saw Roberto Firmino getting a goal as well. His last goal in a Liverpool kit. His last gift to Liverpool fans. Yeah, that was really, really nice of him to get. Cody Gakpo also got himself a goal, having the last laugh in the game. But yeah, Liverpool, they are not going to be in the Champions League next season. They will be competing in the Europa League. And I think that does give them a lot of space to, build on, because Liverpool, they do need to build a lot on this season. And yeah, we'll see what comes out of Liverpool out of next season, because I think they can either get worse or get better. I think there really is no in between. For me, Liverpool next season will either get worse or will get better. The last and final fixture to conclude the 22-23 season of the Premier League was at Selhurst Park, where Crystal Palace took on Nottingham Forest. Crystal Palace, of course, debuting their new kit, which I think is supposed to represent like the 10 years they've been in the Prem, something like that, like 10th year anniversary, something like that. Anyways, I think it was a very fair result for both sides. I think both teams played very similarly, actually. Crystal Palace maybe could have gotten the win, just maybe could have gotten the win, but yeah, I think they both played pretty well. Nottingham Forest striker, number 9 striker for Nottingham Forest, scored an absolutely sensational goal. My man has been in form for at least the past month. Yeah, it was a great goal for him and a great way to end his season. And yeah, again, like I mentioned, very fair result for both sides and not a bad way to end their seasons, I feel. Besides that, I did want to end this video by mentioning my top 5 players of the season and my top 5 goals of the season. These are, of course, in no particular order, but we're going to start with the players. For me, the top 5 players this season were Haaland, without a doubt. I mean, this guy, fam, he won the Prem in his first season. He got Young Player and Player of the Year in his first season. And the most goals in a single season. What a season Erling Haaland had. A lot of people were, or at least me, I'll speak for myself in saying that I knew he was going to have a good season, but I would have never thought he'd blow the Premier League away. Yeah, he'd blow the Premier League away the way he did. Besides him, we also got Saka. I think Saka had a sensational season. Trippier, I thought, also had a great season. This is a bit of a cop-out, but for me, Eze and Olise were also up there for top 5 players of this season. And Ollie Watkins, for me, was one of the best players of this season. I gave him loads of praise this season. He was for me, he was one of the best strikers in the Prem this season, without a doubt. Some honorable mentions for me include Mitoma, Callum Wilson, and Mbeumo, Odegaard, and Isak, fam. I'm pretty sure I'm not naming other ones, but for me, those are the ones that do come to the top of my head and were the best this season, fam. In terms of my top 5 goals this season, this was a really tough list to make, as I feel that there was so many sensational goals this season. But again, in no particular order, for me, one of the best goals of this season was Reece Nelson's goal at Bournemouth. What a time and what a place it was to get a goal like that, fam, in the 90+ minute. It was at that point, at least for me, that I really did think that Arsenal were the ones that were going to bring the Premier League home. I really, really did, fam. I was very convinced at that point. And yeah, sensational time to get a goal like that. Other than that, I would probably say Ilkay Gundogan's goal versus Everton, which happened very recently. He controlled it on his thigh and then he kicked it back. I think everyone knew at that point that Manchester City were going to go to win on the Premier League. No questions asked. I'm also going to put in Decore's goal versus Bournemouth that didn't happen on Sunday. Sensational goal, fam. Absolutely beautiful goal. What time and what a place. Significantly important goal, not just for him and the team, but for the fans, fam. It was because of that goal that Everton didn't get relegated from the Premier League. So that does get in my top 5. We also have St. Maximin's goal versus Wolves. If you guys remember from way early on in the season, I think it was match day 4. It was a sensational volley. The technique was absolutely exquisite, bro. I think at that point, it did look that, at least for me, it did look that Newcastle they can do something this season and go on, on a serious run. And they did just that. They had a fantastic season. And after that, I think I'm going to have to say Demarai Gray's goal against Manchester City, if you guys remember that. I think it was back in January, fam. Belter of a goal. Absolute belter of a goal. You can look back on that game and say that was, a massive result for their season. And it was. If had they, not done their job in that game, who knows how their season would have went. Maybe they would have got relegated, fam. So that was a massive goal. Some honorable mentions for me include Willian's goal. I forgot who it was against. But if you guys remember that, when he maneuvered, did all the skills, and he just banged it top bins, that was sensational. I think Olise's free kick against United was also really, really good. You guys remember that on his left foot. Saka and Rashford's goals at the Emirates Stadium when Man United and Arsenal faced each other. I think they both scored some sensational goals. Rashford's little knuckleball one, and then Saka when he swerved it on his left foot. But they both scored some really, really good goals, and definitely some of the best goals from this season. And lastly, I'm gonna have to say William Saliba's goal versus Bournemouth, fam. That was a sensational goal. Very important goal in Arsenal's season, because at that point Arsenal were going, they were getting rhythm. They went on a good run, and I think a lot of people realize that Arsenal, they are a serious side this season, and they can do some great stuff, and they did. They didn't win the Prem, but Arsenal, they did achieve some good stuff this season. They've grown a lot, fam. But anyways, fam, I hope you did enjoy. If you did, like always, please make sure to like, share, subscribe, tell a friend. Let me know in the comments down below what you enjoyed the most from Championship Sunday. And ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the 22-23 season of the Premier League. It's been an absolute joy and honor to talk about the Premier League with you lot on this channel. It really has been a season to remember. There was loads of memorable goals, moments, controversial stuff. I thought the title race between Arsenal and Manchester City was epic, fam. It was really, really good, and it makes me more excited for next season, because next season Luton, Sheffield United, and Burnley will be back in the Prem. So I think we do have a lot to look forward to for the 23-24 season of the Premier League. And also, I think it's worth mentioning that this channel will not end here. We will be transitioning to one video per week, talking about transfer sagas, kit drops, all that stuff. So if any of that does interest you, please stick around. But like always, ladies and gentlemen, I hope everyone's doing absolutely fantastic, and I will see you guys soon.